I had to laugh at this. Oscar De La Hoya hoping to entice Canelo Alvarez to re-sign with him. He put this tweet out shortly after the fight saying, "It isn't too late yet to switch back to the best promoter." And here he said that Canelo is playing too much golf. And he went into Eddie Hearn. He tore into Eddie Hearn with regards to the matchmaking, which I'll come on to in a separate video. But in terms of Canelo Alvarez potentially rejoining Oscar De La Hoya, as I understand it, the reason that Canelo parted ways with De La Hoya was a trust issue. That was the main thing. He felt as though Goldenboy were doing deals behind his back with DAZN, and he wasn't privy to certain contractual things. He wasn't happy about that. He called De La Hoya a traitor, and he hasn't really had anything good to say about him since. So the chances of him going back to De La Hoya, you never know. Strange things happen in boxing. Whoever would have thought we'd see David Haye and Derek Chisora working together as fighter and manager? That's how boxing is. Strange sport. But you wouldn't put money, I wouldn't put any money on Canelo Alvarez re-signing with De La Hoya anytime soon. If he does re-sign with him, you'd imagine it's going to be some years down the line rather than anytime, let's say in the next few months or years or whatever, next year or so. Now, De La Hoya atting Canelo like this on Twitter, I'm not sure if this is actually illegal because Canelo is under contract with Eddie Hearn, and to approach a fighter and try and get them to sign with you when they've got a contract with a different promoter. I've heard Eddie Hearn talk about stuff like this before with regards to when he wanted to sign Gervonta Davis, and he said he would never approach a fighter because the fighter's under contract. But is that just a professional courtesy, or is it literally illegal, and can you be sued for trying to approach a fighter? If any of you know more about the legalities of that situation there, that scenario, should I say, particularly in America as it relates to law over there, let me know in the comment section below. But De La Hoya, as we know, is, how can I describe him? A wrong'un. Let's just call him that. He's had issues with substances in the past, and you wonder whether he still has those issues, whether it's still ongoing, because his demeanor is off key. Whenever you see Oscar De La Hoya in an interview, his eyes just look manic. His smile looks plastic. He looks like he's masking, some people would say darkness. Other people would say a troubled soul. Some people might say De La Hoya don't have a soul. I don't know whether I want to go that far. But yeah, he's a wrong'un, De La Hoya. And therefore, maybe he isn't thinking straight with regards to whether it's legal to actually put out a tweet like this, trying to entice Canelo to sign back with him again. And I remember Canelo, and many people have said this over the years, but Canelo certainly said this. It was either before, just before he left Goldenboy, or just after. He said that De La Hoya doesn't really do anything at Goldenboy. He's just a figurehead. He isn't in control of the daily operations. He doesn't have much input. It's the other guys who do most of the stuff, and De La Hoya's just there as the face of the company. Is De La Hoya becoming a liability as the face of the company? With all these scandals, we've had so many scandals over the years about De La Hoya, things being settled out of court and all this type of stuff. Is he a liability? Will Eric Gomez be increasingly in front of the cameras rather than De La Hoya? I don't know at ownership level what the hierarchy is, whether there's anybody that can actually rein De La Hoya in. Is there anyone with that level of power? And I'm just speaking from the perspective of Goldenboy not finding themselves in hot water legally. Because if you've got someone who is, as we would say, a bit loose, then they can get you in hot water. They can do silly things because they're not thinking, or maybe they're under the influence of something. And before you know it, you got lawsuits. That's the last thing that this particular company needs. But at the end of the day, if De La Hoya is still the head honcho, I know that they've got a certain hierarchy with regards to who's the CEO and the chairman and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes those things are just window dressing. And behind the scenes, it's a little bit different. If De La Hoya is basically the main man, even though he isn't running the company, is letting other people do that, but at ownership level, if he's the main man, then maybe there's nothing they can do about it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Is what De La Hoya did there with the tweet illegal in your view, in your opinion, especially if you're someone that is familiar with the law over there, contract law in the United States. Let me know what you think. And do you think Canelo would be better off if he did go back to De La Hoya? I'll do a separate video about some of the questions that De La Hoya raised with regards to the matchmaking of Eddie Hearn. I'll comment to that in a separate video. But yeah, for now, let me know what you guys think about all the points I've covered in this video.